I'm gonna share my screen so that everyone can see. Am I sharing already? No, right? No. Let me share. Uh-huh. Now I'm sharing. No, I was gonna show how basically how it's gonna work. The course, everything's gonna be revolving around the Slack channel because that's the place for questions. So I recommend 100% that you guys join the Slack. We already invite you, and we're gonna be doing it here in. Can you remind me the Slack, Marcelo? It's this one, Learn to Code USA. Yeah, so in this group, we're going to be doing all the questions. We're going to be available basically from 9 to 9. Any questions you guys may have. It's really important to ask questions. That's the real value here that we are providing. It's not just the content, because there's a way to find content, very good content online. Um, but additionally, from that content was created by us, so it's completely integrated with the academy. And you also have the questions that are the biggest, like, because the first cause for losing motivation is when you don't have anyone to ask questions. So that's why we focus so much on that part. And talking about questions, I am going to be checking the Slack all the time to see if I know that Gonzalo cannot talk, so it's important for you to be able to chat here. So I'm going to be reviewing that chat all the time, and then if you guys have questions in Slack, that's another part. And it doesn't really matter what type of question. Don't worry about stupid questions because there are not stupid questions. And I know that coding is something that it's not that it's hard. I wouldn't say that it's hard. I think it's more like it's since it's a technical skill set. Sometimes because you don't know a word and the meaning of it, you could block your entire. It could block you entirely. So maybe if you ask, what's this term? What is this? What is that? Then you're able to unstuck yourself and continue. So it's really important to be able to ask questions. That's the best way to get unstuck. And that's why we focus so much on asking questions. As you guys can see, we have also the public support channel here that people are all the time um, joining and asking questions and getting responses from all the other mentors from the academy. We have more than, in total, I guess, more than 30 mentors that could be responding to your questions. And aside from the mentors, you also have other students and other graduates that finished the program a year ago, 2 years ago. So they are also sometimes responding questions there. So it's like a really powerful channel there that you have available. So I would recommend it 100%. Don't hesitate ever. Like, just ask questions. Doesn't really matter if you already asked that question and you are asking it for the second time. If you asked a similar question, or if you have asked 5 times already and you are ashamed and you don't want to ask the sixth time, it doesn't really matter. Just ask, please. So another important thing is the platform. We're gonna be using the Brittle platform. So when you log in on it, it will show you um, all the content and the progress as to-do list, so that you can organize yourself. Since it's a small course, I mean it's 40 hours, but it has more than 40 hours inside. So if you do every exercise available, you have to enough like interactive tutorials and content, I guess, like for a couple of months, if you want to do everything, because we prefer to put more exercises there than when you can handle, because that way uh, people that are willing to put more hours into can also enjoy it more and not like get bored by not having enough exercises. So we put more than what you can handle, and that's okay. That's, you don't have to do everything. As long as you do one project of each day, it'll be enough. Even though we put on the first day, you can see that we put 2 projects. in this day we have 3 projects. You can do just one and it will be enough. In day 3 we have again a couple of projects. When I say project, I'm talking about code, just the code keyword here. And you have on day 4 you have another couple of projects. So if you do just one every day, it will be enough. Those projects, all of them have video instructors, tutorials, because as a backup, the idea is that you can watch the video if you are stuck, or you can ask in the Slack channel, like I already said. But they also have readings. You should start with the readings all the time, and then go to the practice, and then go to the code or the project. And then the quiz is just if you want to self-assess anything. We are not tracking anything there, actually. When you start a day, you'll have your to-dos here so that you can manage your time and everything and complete the to-dos. I have a lot of to-dos because I've opened a lot of days, but the to-dos don't show up until you open the day. It's the first thing that shows when it's the first thing that you see the day one, it will show a button saying start the day. And when you start the day, that's when you get the tasks on your task list, basically. So again, you can always come back here and check your to-dos, your journey, start a new project. That's how you start coding in start new project, and we're gonna be doing that. I wanted to ask you, Gonzalo, my bad, if you have read the lessons and done the HTML exercises or not. You can respond in the chat. If you have, then we can start with the project already, but if you haven't, we should go over the HTML and CSS. And also, okay, CSS, learning CSS, day 1. So you haven't started the exercises yet. So I'm gonna do a quick review on CSS and HTML so that everyone can also do that. So the first day is about the pre-work. I already said most of it. The readings that we have are very short. As you can see, as everyone can see, it's like 8 minutes for a reading. So that means it's more like a cheat sheet, because yeah, you can read it, but it's so condensed that it will also work as a cheat sheet. We are not trying to write a lot. We are trying to summarize everything the best we can so that the readings are small, because this is more like a sport. You don't learn soccer or football by reading a book. You can read a book about the rules, but still, until you don't know anything really until you get to the field and kick the ball. So the same happens with coding. Like, you could be understanding everything, you can see people coding and it will be something that you can understand, but until you actually code on yourself, you will not be able to really code. So that's why we focus so much on doing exercises and projects, and we don't focus much on reading. It has gotten to the point that I say that reading it's bad. Like, I don't recommend reading. Even though we do have some readings, that's enough, you know? Your questions and your understanding should be getting more thorough the more you do exercises. Like, you are trying to do an exercise, you don't understand something about the exercise, and that's what you read about it. But just to be able to continue, to unstuck yourself. Not like, I have one little question about HTML, so let me read an entire book about HTML, and then I go back to the exercise. It doesn't work like that, because that will slow you down a lot. What you want is to be able to accomplish things pretty quick, to not lose motivation, because reading a book will take a while, right? So it will require a lot of motivation. So how do you keep the motivation going? By accomplishing stuff quickly. And that's why we focus so much on practice and code. Practice and code. Okay, so about HTML. No, about internet first. So the internet was built mainly at the beginning, and we still carry some of that legacy. It was built for publishing papers. It was meant for publishing papers. So you know that when scientists publish a paper, they have to be peer reviewed, and they need 3 approvals to get published in a in a scientific publication. So that was the idea. So if you're going to publish a document for like for scientific publications, you want to be as similar as possible to a word processing document, like Microsoft Word. So that's why they have the exact same features in the base version of HTML. So I'm going to be showing here a classic processing document and the analogies of it. Like when you're doing a scientific paper, or no, it doesn't have to be a scientific paper, any document, you're going to have always, like what I'm showing here, you're going to have headings, heading 2, heading 3, subtitles, titles. You're going to have styling for the text. Like if I'm going to start typing, I say, hello, this is my title. So you make it on H1, you see? So it gets format already. Like when I apply the title 1 or the heading 1, that is the same, the heading 1, it grows, it gets thicker, and then when I continue typing, it's just a normal paragraph. You see, a normal paragraph. So the same will happen in HTML, the same. But you don't apply the styling with your mouse because you don't have a mouse. You will wrap this in an H1, you will open and you will close. H1 tag because this is a heading 1. And then this other one you're gonna wrap in a paragraph tag because it's a paragraph. And it will style it by default. It will say, okay, this is a paragraph, so let me jump the line. For example, like paragraphs between each other, they have some spacing. And that's automatically done in a word processing document by the application that you're using, but on the web, by the browser. Well, the browser will say, okay, so this is a p tag. Let me just put some spacing above and below the paragraph. That's how it's going to work. And for formatting like bold and stuff, like if I want to make this bold, this part of the text here, then I got to put a strong tag. Strong. That would basically make it bold. Open and close. Always open and close. Open and close. So that will be translated into like the browser will remove the tags from it and it will keep the styling. So that's how it works. The browser is just an interpreter. The browser like Google Chrome or Safari or Mozilla Firefox, they will all do the exact same thing. They agree with each other. They say, okay, this is going to be the standard, and they all try to keep the same standard so that it looks the same on every browser. And then when you're doing text code for mobile or for desktop, you can also use the same syntax, and you have some interpreters that will translate that into whatever the mobile phone needs to show it the same way. So I know it's a big path from a word processing document, or from a document to an actual website. Like websites today are super interactive and everything. But you have to start with that because, and actually it's not very far from that. Like if you go, for example, to the Briscoe website, this menu on the left, it's a bunch of LIs, IULs, and those are these. Let's say step 1, and I'm gonna make it an ordered list. Step 2. This is basically a list element. That's the tag that you use in HTML for it. And this is another list element. And before that, you gotta put a UL, a OL, just to say that it's ordered, an ordered list. And here you close the OL. So that's basically how it's gonna work. So when you're doing a website, even though you're not doing a real Word document or a Word document, you have to still do the analogy. So this menu on the left will be an unordered list. This menu on the top will also be an unordered list because it's 1, 2, and 3. So it's an unordered list. This on the top, unordered list again. This is an unordered list. So everything has to be matching a real, even if it's a website, it has to match a document. This menu on the left, unordered list. And then you have divisions or containers that are this huge thing that I can actually move like this. It's a division. And then you have here another division, so that's a div tag. So that's pretty much HTML. It's a way to represent documents. And then they try to make it a way to represent websites, website interfaces. So then what's CSS from it? Like CSS will let you first override the default CSS behaviors, the default HTML behaviors. They will let you override it. So I can say with HTML, I can say with CSS, my bad, I can say I want this to be different. Like even though it's an H1, I want it to make it smaller. So it is possible now to have a heading 1 that it's smaller in size. All the heading 1s actually are going to be like that. Or I can just have one of them. So it's meant to override the default styling of HTML and then to enhance it. Like I can also say, for example, that I want this in blue. That's CSS. Changing the color of the text, it's CSS. It can also be done with HTML, but people don't use it like that anymore. They started separating all the concepts, and HTML now is about the content, and CSS is about the styling. Any questions so far? Yeah.
The riplets, is it the ones that we already have? The ones that I have from before?
Well, it has video sessions, video solutions now, and it has a couple more exercises. But it's pretty much the same, yeah.
Okay. Those are added on there?
It depends. If you have the link from... if it's open in Gitpod, yes. If it's open in Replit, no.
Okay.
So let me know where it's being opened, and if it's open in Gitpod, you're cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me check.
So now about CSS. CSS basically will, like I said, style this. So let's start a little project that it's here on the day 1. It's called the digital postcard. If you read the instructions, it will tell you exactly what to do. That is pretty simple right now because it's just replicating this exact same picture. That's what we're going to be doing. So if we're going to make this a Word document, imagine what you're going to be doing, you know? Let me see if I can use annotations. Let's try to annotate this. Visible part of the page. Okay. So this element here, it's a little bit obvious what it is, right? This element here will be an H1. An H1 tag. So H1. What do you think this element here is? You guys can answer on the chat. Yeah, it's a P tag. That was the simple one as well. And then this one here is the same. Let me point it to the same place. What about this one? What's this one? This is a button tag. Yeah, no. Headings have H1, H2, H3 because of the size. That's why they have different tags. They come with different sizes. But P tags are always the same size, so they don't have P1, P2. It's just a normal P. You repeat the same exact tag. But for headings as well, Google will use the H1 as the main keyword for the website. So if you want to have good ranking on Google, you gotta make sure that your H1s match your Google keywords. Like you have to think, if I'm selling, let's say I'm selling car tires, I have to imagine what will be people searching when they look for car tires. Maybe they're searching for car tires. So that's what needs to go on the H1. You should not put on the H1 something that you like more than it's more something that people search for. So for example, at the Academy, what we did is that we put, here's the H1 here, it says Miami Coding Bootcamp here, but the big title is Time to Code. So we override the size of the H1 to make it smaller. And then Time to Code, we made it bigger. And Time to Code is a P tag, it's not an H1. So that's why you can take advantage of those tags for search engine optimization. Then this one here. This is an input type text. So here, these three input type text. Don't worry about the green little. It's like a little fox because that's not part of the exercise. We should remove that. Yeah. Okay. So then that was a password manager that I was using when I took the screenshot. I should have deleted it. Okay. This one is what? It's an IMG.
Icon.
No. Actually, icons don't have a tag.
So it's just an image.
It's just an image. Yeah. Icons are processed like a font. We can talk about that later on, because fonts are a huge thing in HTML, CSS, because there were so many icons. Icons were images at the beginning, but images are a very, you'll see. I hate images. Like I like them in the website, but I hate the image tag because it's not very. It doesn't like to play with you. It's very rigid because images are rigid. Like for example, if you resize an image, it will look weird because the original size of the image remains, but then it's like you're shrinking it. It looks all out of proportion. So that's why the image tag, it's really bad. But for now, we're going to be using image tag, and later on, we're going to show you how to address that problem better. Okay, so we have all the elements right now already identified, and this is the first thing you should do when you're building a website. The first step is taking the time to think about your strategy. If you don't think about the strategy, you will end up having a mess in your website. But then we have another thing that we need to address, that is the divisions. We have some content on the left, some content on the right, and this is when it gets a little bit tricky because CSS and HTML were not meant for this type of layout originally. They were meant for documents. So there's a way to work around that, and it's called the box model, and we're going to be talking about that in the next class. But we can, without the box model, using normal or not normal, like using more basic HTML, CSS, you're still able to accomplish something like this. So let's try it. Now we're going to talk about the div tag. That is the division tag. It's a tag that is responsible for layouts. So I'm going to put it in another color. Let's see, purple. Beautiful purple. So this is a division. We know this already, right? That was easy. And then you have a division here. That's the entire website. It's recommended to always put the entire website on a division. And then you have another division here for this, and another division for this, and another division for this. And then you have here another division for this text, and another division for this one. So this is where it gets tricky, like I said. So for that strategizing about that, my bad, is we have, I'm gonna put the layouts here on the right. We have one approach that is doing the postcard like this, and then having the title on the top with the image, then having another div here, and then having another div here. That's one approach. And then you will have to have smaller divs inside for the left and right layout. That's one approach. Another approach we could do is that we could have the postcard, and we could say, okay, we're gonna have one div on the left, one div on the right, and then the button div at the bottom. The div that contains the button at the bottom. And then I'm gonna put here, I guess, the H1. The H1 here, it'll be here. Let me put it in another color. The H1 here, and the P tag and the other P tag. Here are the three inputs. Oh, I forgot about the image, and the image here at the top. Like this one's the image. And then the button here. It's a sad face because it's a bad layout. And why is it a bad layout? Because if you split the screen here, if the title of the postcard tomorrow is different, let's say that instead of being my postcard is, let's change the name to my super duper postcard. That is good, whatever. Like you see how it's a lot bigger, so it will jump the line because it doesn't fit in this div here. It will jump the line, but in this one it will be allowed to continue. So the first approach is better than the second one. If you're having a dynamic postcard title, if it's gonna always be the same and it's never gonna change, then it doesn't really matter. But I would suggest just using the first approach. Okay. So divisions work like that. You have to use a lot of divisions, and that's normal. At the beginning, you would think that that's crazy having so many divisions. But later on, you'll get used to it and you will just use them. Because if you don't use that many divisions, you have no way of taking control over your website. Like, you gotta be able to transform stuff and say, you go here, you go to the right, you move to the left, you move to the right. If you want to do it like that, you gotta be able to wrap a lot of things. You'll get better at this. So with this strategy, let me save it here. I'm gonna get a temporal link so that I can share with you guys, and we can all have the strategy. I'm gonna put it here in the chat. Okay, so now let's start coding it. To start coding it, we go here to the Breathco platform. We go to the beginning and then say start new project here. That's the best way to start coding because we will have the same environment as you have. So new empty. If you do it locally in your computer, you will not have the same environment as me. So it could happen that you have some issues that I'm not able to manage. As you can see, we are remote and everything. So we want to have the less possible amount of errors. We're going to focus on HTML and CSS. We're not going to focus on how to configure your computer. We can do that later separately. So this is already done. It's ready to start coding. Basically, you have files on the left, and you have the command line here at the bottom that you're not going to be using much, but just a little bit. And then we can start doing our website. Let's create a new file that we're going to call index.html. It always has to be called index.html because that's the file that servers from the internet. When you say my domain name is pointing to this server, when you buy a domain name and you say that you want to point it to a server, the server will look for the index, and that's what's going to be shown when no particular URL is, or sub URL is explicitly specified. So if I say, let's say, for this academy and I don't put any slash something, it will go to the index. Like if I just put this, it is going to the index. So that's important. It has to be named index. And then another important thing is that the default HTML CSS skeleton has to always be put on a website. Even though I can say like this. I can say hello world. Let's run it. To run it, you have to say Python server.py. Oh, I forgot the N. Python server.py. That will run it. My bad. Then it's not that. It's Python 3. It's not that either. Let me see what we have to do. Oh yeah.
You need to install Flask.
Yeah, but I think that's. I don't want to talk about that, so let's just delete this file and let's just say Python minus M simple HTTP server. So this is the most basic way to run a server. Python comes with it, and your computer has Python probably. If it doesn't have it, just install it. But it comes with Python. Actually, I'm gonna do better. I think it's better than Python 3. I think it's Python 3 HTTP dot server without the minus M. Let me see. Minus M. Yeah. Python 3 minus M HTTP dot server. That's better because Python 2, the second version of Python, is already deprecated. It doesn't have any maintenance anymore and it was forgotten. So you gotta use always Python 3. You have to make sure that your computer has Python 3 and not Python 2. Apple computers, I think sometimes they come with both. So you have to say, if you say Python, it will be Python 2. But if you put Python 3, it will be Python 3. If you don't know your version of Python, you say Python minus minus version. Mine is Python 2.7, but if I say Python 3, it's 3.7.7. So with 3.7.7, I can run this. It will run a server for me, and it will show here on the left my URL when I click on Open Browser. So Open Browser, and it will show your website. Here it is. Hello world. And this is a public link, by the way. You can share this with anyone, and they will see it. But it will go offline when you stop using it. But like if I close this tab, this URL will stop being online after a while. Okay, so once I have my website here on the right, I can start coding on it. I'm gonna look for the basic HTML template, or not template, structure, just to talk about it. So the normal simple HTML structure is this one here. Let's talk about it for a second. So dot type, it's what says the version of HTML that you want to use. That's something that you just put there. Like I spent the first I don't know 15 years of my life coding without knowing what dot type was, and I didn't care because you don't have to care much about it. Just put it there, and then you have to start with the HTML tag, opening the HTML tag and closing it here, followed by the head tag, followed by the body tag, followed by whatever the body, not followed by my bad. That, and they both have to have inside the head tag always have information about the website, and the body always have information content of the website, not information about the website. It's like a letter. When you send a letter on the mail, you always have a title that you put on the envelope of the letter. Not a title, more like an address and information about the letter. That's the head. And then the body, it's the actual letter, and that's what you see on the website. Whatever you put on the head, it's not going to show. Let me show you. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to refresh my website, and you can see that these two things show, but the title doesn't show, the page title doesn't show here. It's because it's here on the tab. It's on the top. So that's it. That's the typical structure of a website. And then inside your body, you start putting stuff. Like, in this case, we have to build our image. So let me stop sharing the screen for a second so that I can share again, and I'm gonna share the entire Finder. No, I'm sharing the other Finder. Which Finder? Ah, this one. Yeah. Now I'm sharing the right one. Okay. So now I'm gonna put here. I'll put this somewhere else. And then I'm gonna put on the right the website that I'm developing. On the left, the code. I'm gonna make it bigger so that everyone can see it. And then the strategy. Where was it? I don't remember where the strategy was. Let's see if I can find it. Ah, it's in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So here's my strategy. So to open the website, you have to put Python 3 -m http.server, and then you press enter, and it will pop up here, and you click on open browser. Okay. If you have any issues, don't type this. I typed it, but one thing that I always recommend is not typing. Whatever you can avoid typing, avoid it. Don't type it, because you will see that, like, I don't know, 60% of the errors you make are misspells. Like I spent my first, I don't know, 10 years coding without knowing that I had an issue, that I was always having misspells. And I think a lot of people are like that, like the majority of them. That's what I normally see when I'm teaching, that people make mistakes all the time. Like, for example, you may think that a lowercase and an uppercase are not meaningful, and they are. So that could be a misspell. Or maybe you think that the dollar sign, like when you look in Google, for example, if I say start Python server quickly, whatever, it's gonna recommend me this, right? The simple HTTP server that I was using first. So if they recommend me this, and instead of copying it, oh look, if I copy it with the dollar sign, I am already making a mistake. Let me show you the mistake. Because the dollar sign is assumed that you don't put it. You see, it's telling dollar, command not found. That's because I already have the dollar sign here, you see? So the dollar sign is meant to show you that where the command starts, not, you don't have to copy it. That's why tutorials are so bad, because they don't tell you those kind of things. So you spend a day, or you think the tutorial is wrong, and you discard the tutorial entirely just because of that dollar sign. That happens all the time. Little things that whoever's doing the tutorial don't think about, and then you lose motivation, like I was saying, because you don't ask questions, and then someone will tell you, oh, you're missing the dollar sign, and that's it. It was just a dollar sign. Or you're missing the dollar sign. No, the opposite. Okay. So we have our website here. Let me put something else. Actually, let me put the strategy that we had. So in our strategy, we said that this was going to be, let me put it smaller here. Okay. So I'm going to start with the purple one around the entire website. Div class content. Like, why am I saying class? Class is a way we have to identify our tags, and you gotta put them like that. Class equals content. and that will describe further the tag. My bad. So this is a div tag, but it's a div tag that contains the class content. You can also say it with other elements. For example, images will have a source, the source of the image. Uh, Tables can have the color of the heading or whatever. Like you can describe them further by putting properties. This is called an attribute or a property, and this is the value of that attribute. I can put more attributes, like for example the ID. I can put the, I don't know. Actually, for this you don't have many attributes, but you can put in others. You can put more. So this will be my entire. Actually, I want to call it container, not content. I always put my biggest div that I have, like the main that wraps everything. I always call it container. And then we will have the next one that is the smallest one, the smaller one that contains the entire postcard that I'm gonna call postcard. And by the way, open and close the tag right away. Don't open and close later. Open it right away. Close it right away, and then continue with your life. Like you cannot continue with your life if you haven't closed it because you're gonna forget, and that's another 40% of the errors, 50% of the errors when you're starting. And then I'm gonna put here my H1, open, close, and then continue with my life. My postcard. And then here's an image tag. Let's close the image tag like this. And we're gonna put a real image. So I think we have it on the instructions. Here it is, yeah. And there we go. If I refresh, you can start seeing the content. My postcard it's removed. It removed all the tags for me, and it applied the styles according to the tags that I put. So I see that we have more people here. Ian and yeah. So Ian, are you following? You want me to show you something?
Oh, I'm on my computer now. Yeah, and I'm good.
Okay. But were you able to open the? Have you read the lessons? Were you able to do this project, or you haven't done it?
This one I haven't done yet. No.
Okay. So if you want, there's a video on it for later. I'm not gonna do it entirely because that's you have a video for that. Um, but I was showing how to create the project. So basically, we'll be making a strategy here about your code and assigning tags, HTML tags to it based on a word processing document. Like you know that in a word processing document, this will be a heading, it will be a paragraph. This will be a button, image, and inputs.
Yeah.
So we built the strategy and then we started coding the strategy. I'm not thinking anymore. I'm behaving more like a machine right now because I'm just typing whatever I see on the strategy.
Yeah. Okay.
So after you have your strategy, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I understand so far.
Cool. No, if you have any questions, you can just talk, and that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. So the idea is that you guys also can code it with me so that I can respond to any questions. Because when you're coding is when you learn. I was saying that before. Like when you code, you have all the mistakes, and when you watch a video, you have no mistakes and everything makes sense, and you're so happy. Like I'm learning. It's like watching a soccer game. When you're watching it, you're happy, you understand it, but when you're playing it, it's okay. This is not like this. This is not how you kick a ball. Let me kick it 100 times so that I can be a better kicker. The same happens with code. You're not gonna be good at this until you put some dirt on your hands and start coding. So that's why I strongly encourage you guys to come to the class. after you read and try. And then here we can address the questions, basically. That's how it's going to work. That's how the course normally works. This, you mean the URL for the image? I got it from the exercise instructions. It's on day one, code the digital postcard. Read the instructions, and you'll get to the instructions here. I'm gonna put it here on the chat. Okay. So we're here. We have this. So let's connect our website to CSS. That's a tricky part. When I was starting, I remember always being frustrated for hours because the connection didn't work between the CSS and the HTML. So I'm gonna give you the trick to right away fix it. So the first thing to avoid the issues is never type the link tag on your own. That's the best trick you can get. It seems stupid, but 99.99% of the errors are typing the link tag. So let me Google it. I do that, by the way. I do it today still. I say link tag because I remember that it's a link tag, and then I copy it from W3 Schools. I copy it from here. I know this is showing me that it has to be on the head. You don't have to copy this part because we already have a head. So we're gonna copy this and put it in our head. So that's the first thing. I avoided all the errors because there was a lot of typing, as you can see there. There was a lot of typing. So I'm gonna now put style.css because that's how I wanna name my style. So style.css. You create the style sheet. I'm gonna put it here on the right. And then we're gonna have it here. The next thing you do to make sure that it's working is that I normally put to the body, I apply a background blue. Okay? And I refresh. If it's blue, everything is working now. Like, I don't have to ever again worry about my CSS not being linked properly. Believe me, when you're coding, you're gonna have this issue a lot of times, and you have to remember never to type the link tag, always to copy it and paste it, and second, always to test it with a background. Body background. You can put it back afterwards. But that's the main trick to avoid issues with this and not getting frustrated for hours. Okay, after you have your style, the reason I put style here is because it's the same name of the file. If my file is in a subfolder, I would have to put the entire path to the file. Like I would have to put slash, whatever slash, because it's an relative path to the style. Okay, now that we have these, the naming conventions for the classes, I wanted to talk about that as well. Like the real trick to avoid growing your code a lot. You don't want to grow the code, you want to have it smaller, because the bigger your code, the more mistakes you're going to make. You'll see that coding, being a senior developer, it's more about avoiding errors than anything else. Like you always code being really afraid of making a mistake. So you try to code in the best way possible to avoid mistakes in the future. So the more you type, the more mistakes. Another thing is that the size of your website it's very tied together to the amount of characters that you put, because every character is a byte. So if I have, let's say, I don't know, 50 characters here, I already have 50 bytes. And then a lot of bytes add up to kilobytes, and a lot of kilobytes add up to megabytes. And then that's when your website starts getting big. and it will grow a lot as it is, because HTML requires a lot of typing or a lot of characters to create a website. So you want to avoid that. So how do you avoid that? The names of your classes should never be about your project. Like, for example, if I want to name this class, this entire div, I want to name it postcard, I am already making a mistake, because it's gonna work. Like, I could say later here, postcard dot postcard, by the way, because it's a class and classes are referred with a dot at the beginning. Dot postcard background. You see how I make mistakes all the time? Yellow. So I have my postcard in yellow, and I'm gonna refresh, and it's not working for some reason. Class postcard background yellow. That's weird. What could be this issue? Let me put a border. Not working either. Postcard, div class postcard.
I'm gonna try to assign a height.
I think because I didn't save the HTML. Horrible. Yeah, so that brings me to another recommendation. If I were you, I would autosave here. Autosave. Because now another big percent of the errors are that you forget to save. Like I just did. 20 years later, I still forget to save. It's a battle that you will never win. So there it is, my div with the postcard and the background. So now, I was saying that postcard is a bad name for it. And that's because if you want to use classes, you will probably never have a postcard again. Unless you have several postcards in your project, and then that's okay. I mean, if you're going to have twice postcards, twice the amount of postcards, then okay, because you're reusing it. But names should be meant for reusability. So a good name for a postcard will be square. Because every time I have a square, I'm going to use the square class. And I can say all the squares are going to have a width 500 pixels, and they're going to be margin auto. That's what you use to center a postcard. I have to change the class square here. So there it is. Now if I grow this website, if I make it bigger, it will remain centered. You see? Like a postcard. So, but now I can have a lot of squares on my website. I have to be very careful, because if the square is always going to be 500 pixels, then I'm limiting the square features a lot. That's the trick. Picking wisely what rules to apply to your square and what not, what apply to a part. You could also say, for example, you could say postcard, and you can say all squares are going to be yellow, but only the postcard will have a width and a margin out. So that makes it, I apply two classes to it. You see, two classes separated by a space. Let's see what happens. Nothing happened because I haven't changed nothing in the long run. But I could have another div now, and it will be, if I apply the class square to it, it will be yellow, but it will not be 100%, 500%, 500 pixels and margin out. Okay, so that's the thing about classes. You may find that some people use the ID like this. They would say square one something, and then here they would say ID square one. But I don't like IDs at all for CSS, because IDs are not meant to be reusable either, because IDs are supposed to be unique. So that's why I put it like square one, because if it's an ID, I should not have two squares. I should have square one and square two. Okay, but I want to put this on the left and put this on the right. So I'm gonna do a class left that I'm gonna float left, and I'm gonna have a class right that I'm gonna float right. Okay, and then I can apply class left to this and class. Actually, with class left will be enough. Let's see. Yeah, it's already there. You see, but then I have another issue that's there. I want the image to be all the way to the right. So for that, we could say that we want the class of the image to be right. There it is. And now it's not yellow anymore. And this is another issue. When you put stuff to float, they don't belong to their parent anymore. What's the parent? Like HTML has a hierarchy. So when I'm doing a document, I have to think about who's inside of whom. Like for example, this H1, it's inside the postcard. So it's a child of it. That's why I'm putting it with one. I am manually putting these spaces here. You can just have them like this and it won't matter because HTML doesn't matter about the white spaces. But I'm putting it manually like this because I want my brain to remember that the H1 goes inside the postcard, not outside. If I put it outside, you'll have to go to the left then, like this. So because it's a hierarchy, so it's like this. Is image and H1 are siblings, but they both are childs of this div, and this div as well, and this div is a child of this another div that it's a child of this body. So that's how it works. So when you have all the elements, when you put an element to float, it doesn't belong anymore to the div, to the parent div. It's just the way it is. So the div right now, even though I put the tag inside, because I overwrote the default behavior of this H1 by saying that I wanted to float left, I basically overwrote as well the capacity or the feature that, or the property that is a child of that div. It's not a child anymore. If I want to keep that, I would have to say to the parent, oh, by the way, overflow hidden. If I say that, they will remain being childs of it. I know this is a concept a little bit difficult to understand at the beginning, but trust me, this will work. You will be able to crack this, and you will remember that every time that you float, you have to put the overflow. Any questions? Okay, so no questions at all. So if you guys ever have a question, just put it on the chat, and I will stop talking. Okay, so after being able to, the cool thing that I like about this approach using left and right is that we're gonna have a lot of left and right. So we're gonna have this left and this right, this left and this right, this, well, and that's it. So just do, but it's okay. I'm gonna be able to reuse it. So the next thing will be to have another div. I'm just basing on our strategy here. Like we had this div here, now we need another div with two divs and the p tags on the left side of it. So div, then another div, then another div. So now I'm gonna organize it. You see how this can, if you don't organize it, it can be a mess pretty quick. Let me disorganize a little bit more. Because if I don't indent like this can become really hard to read. So that's why you always have to remember to indent and put format. Okay, so this one goes here. This one goes here. So these two are a child of this div, and there it is. So the last paragraph will be here. The right paragraph will be here, and then here we will have inputs. Open and close. Open and close. Those are 3 inputs. And then let's do the button at the end. So for the button, we have a button tag. We're gonna call it send my postcard. And then here we're gonna have some text. So let's use loading ipsum generator because that's very useful for gibberish or just text. We normally call it loading ipsum. That was invented by the designers, and now developers use it as well. So this will be my text, and then another one very similar here. Let's refresh and see what happens. So that's what I have right now so far. When you did, Gonzalo, when you said that yours doesn't put the colors, you mean that you don't see the yellow here, even though you put the overflow hidden? Remember to put the overflow hidden to the parent. If you have something floating inside a div, that div has to be overflow hidden. Yeah, that's a classic issue. My first 5 years I was forgetting about that. But I didn't have any mentor, so you guys are having a better course than I had before. When I started coding, and there was no Google, by the way. I was using Yahoo. So you can imagine the quality of the tutorials. There was nothing, by the way. I was having to read the documentation from the scientifics that did HTML, so it was different. I kept forgetting about that. So just put the overflow and it will work with the float left and float right. Now we gotta do the same for the left paragraph and the right inputs. So this div will have class left. No, this one. Yeah, this one's left, and then no, this one's right. My bad. And then this one's left. But by the way, this button should not be a sibling of this right side, because as you can see here, it's not a sibling. The left and the right have a bigger div surrounding them, and then you have the button div, the next one. So I'm gonna do that one now. I was missing that one. So div, and now I gotta indent so that our brain gets it. If you don't indent, your brain will never get it. Like it's the being a coder is always fighting your own human skill sets. You, as a human, you always interpret stuff, so that's really hard. Computers they make it literally, so that's very good for them. The more literal you are, the better. So what's your issue right now, Gonzalo? Send me a screenshot, and then maybe I can give you a hint. If you want to take class postcard square, okay. But send me a screenshot of your. If you don't have a quick tool to take screenshot, I would strongly recommend you have one, because that's the only way to get feedback. So I use this one here. It's called Awesome Screenshot. It's super cool. Awesome Screenshot. It's a plugin Chrome, a Chrome plugin. Chrome. It's free, of course. It also has a paid plan. I pay for the paid plan because I don't wanna. I think you have like a limit of pictures you can take a month. So you will say add to Chrome, and then it will show up here. after you take the screenshot, let's say that I'm here and I want to take my screenshot, right? So I would say screenshot, capture visible part of the page. It will capture it for me. I can add any annotations like this doesn't work, whatever. And then done, and then upload to get a shareable link. Or you can actually click on Slack or anywhere to send the screenshot. Or you can download it and then upload it to Slack. Like all of that works. You can also do it with the normal Apple screenshot taker. Apple has a pretty good one, but it doesn't have sharing features. So if you do it with Apple, you will have to take the screenshot with Command Shift R 4. Command Shift 4. You do like this to take the screenshot, and then you have to, on the Finder, you gotta find it, right? So I think it's you gotta open
Mine usually save on the desktop.
on the desktop. Exactly. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. My bad. So you go to the desktop and there it is. It's here. So you can just drag and drop it to Slack, and I'll see it there. It's on. Should be somewhere here. Yeah. So you can put it here if you like. So I guess you're Gonzalo Bueno, not Gonzalo Malo. Okay, I just send you a message on Slack so that you know where to put it. Let's go back to the code. Okay. Oh yeah, that's you're missing. You put this. You see how the browser is not interpreting this? It should be hidden. If it's not hidden, you have a missile probably before the C. See what you have before the C on your code. You probably close the tag right there, or you have a weird character, and that will fix it. Send me a screenshot now, but about your code. Like go to your code and take a screenshot of it like this, and send it to me or with an awesome screenshot as well. Let's see. Yeah, you close the div right there. You see, you're supposed to the greater than. It's supposed to be here. You already have it there. Just remove this greater than, and it will highlight it in colors the right way, and it will work. Yeah, it's just HTML is about being very careful, and that's it. It's not an intellectual challenge. It's more like being a detail-oriented challenge. It's almost annoying how detailed you have to be. But in coding in general, you have to be very detailed. But in HTML, 99% of the errors are like that. Misspells. So now that we're here, just send me the new screenshot then. No, don't worry. Like, that's what we're here for. Okay, let's see. Well, you're missing the left and the right. You have to have float left and float right applied to the H1 because the H1 goes to the left, and to the image because the image goes to the right. You see, the H1 goes to the left and the image goes to the right. So you're missing that right now. Yeah.
Alejandro, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Okay. Gonzalo, I guess you name your file styles.css. Actually, the link is styles with a s.css.
Ah, you're right.
The file without the
Yeah. There's a misspell on the path. Remember when I told you about putting the background color to the... Let's put the background color back because it's the only way to avoid issues. I put background colors to all the divs all the time just to make sure that I can see them. So, body... Actually, we do have to have a background. So let's say background black because that's what we're being told to use. Background black. You can see it on the picture. It's black. So just put it there. And don't and to the postcard now we have to make it white because if not you're not gonna see the text. So postcard background white. Yeah. Well, we don't have any text. Ah, the text is outside the postcard right now. Wow. Yeah, it is. Everything's outside the postcard. We need to put it inside. Doom, doom. There it is. Like if you want to move stuff like that very fast, you gotta select it, and then with your keyboard press Alt up or Alt down, and it will move entirely. This will save you so many errors as well. Moving stuff all the way because you will copy when you copy and paste. You have to be very careful where you're starting to copy and where you're ending the copy because, for example, if I start from here, I'm making a mistake. Because I lost the opening tag. You see how the closing is here, the opening is here, and I didn't include my opening on the copy. So that's another way to have errors. Using the mouse. Like typing is really bad. And using the mouse is really bad. So it's like a lot of things are really bad, right? You're very constrained here. But it's how it is. You have to use the keyboard to copy and paste. Yeah, you have to move with your keys. I press Shift and go up because the good thing about using Alt Up to move stuff is that you don't have to highlight it. You can just be on the line, and the entire line will move. I don't have to select div and then move. No, I can just be on the line and move. So that's one thing. Another thing is going to the left and to the right. Tab or Shift Tab. So after I moved it, like I was here, right, and I said, "Oh my God, my button has to be. All of this has to be inside." The postcard. So what I did is that I selected everything, move it down, and then move it to the left. You see with Shift Tab. And move it off and move it to the right. And now everything is inside the postcard. So everything should be white now. You see it's there. It's all white. So that's very good. Let me see if there's any other issues. Okay, so I'm guessing you're still typing all of this, you guys. So I'm gonna give you another minute to type all of this. Remember, you can put names to all of it so that you don't make mistakes because if you have a lot of opening divs that don't have a name, you end up confusing them. So for this one, I will put, let's say that this is the, let's say that is the postcard. Let's call it description. Or the description. Let me see. Let's review the opening and closing ones. We have the postcard, and here's the postcard. Then we should have had a div surrounding the H1 and the other one, and we don't have it, so let's have it. that we can call the postcard div class postcard head. And then we close that div right away and we put everything inside to the right. There it is. Then it's the postcard. Let's call it postcard body, whatever. And then it's supposed to close here. So let's close it. There it is, the matching closing div. And then this one we can call the postcard class, the postcard footer. And that's about it. Let's see. It looks the same, but it's better formatted. Why is this send my postcard all the way to the top? It should be not on the top. That's weird. We'll see that later. Okay, so I have the body. This one is not needed anymore. Yeah, I was redundant. So I have the body. Here, the body is this one. And then inside you have two, one on the left and one on the right. So the body on the left, one on the right. Okay. Now we gotta say, oh, this one, left and right. The inputs are supposed to be on the right, and they're not. Let's see why. Let's apply to. Let me apply a background to this guy's background. Let's put this one in pink, just to be able to see them. And then to this one, let's put it in yellow. I already have a yellow, so green, I guess. Okay, so the class is working here. The left is working here, but it's not working on that one because I don't really know why. B, left. Let me put to the right one. Let me jump the line of those inputs because I see that they are at this, like one after the other, and maybe that's because they don't fit on the right side because they're too big. Let me see if I can wrap those in p tags to make them, or in divs. No, they don't have to. They are not paragraphs, so they can just be in a div. Wrap it. Let me put the three of them in a div. So for that, we can just do down div, and then we'll do the same at the end, but closing it there. Let's see. So now they are aligned one on top of each other. That's very good. But still, the left and the right is not working.
Alejandro?
Yeah.
You should try to apply a width to the class left because they are inside the div in line 15 and line 19. And the other ones are just h1 and image. That's why they were floating correctly.
Yeah.
In this case, you should apply a width because are div and they are getting the 100% of the space.
Yeah, but if I apply a div to left, it will be applied also to postcard. So I will have to apply a width, like an additional one. I will have to have a separate class.
Yeah.
So let's say postcard text. Another class, and then I would say postcard text with 50%. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do a class W50, and then we can do with 50%, and we can apply that class to both, to the left side and to the right side.
Yeah, makes sense.
With W50, W50. That way we make sure both are. Yeah, it's working now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do the same for No, I cannot do the same. So I'm gonna reorganize my classes as well because I want to make sure that I'm reusing a lot, reusing those classes. So I'm gonna put them at the top. The ones it's supposed to be from the more specific, from the more generic to the most specific. The order. The order matters. Should be the less specific, like left, right. They are less specific than postcard because postcard it's about my project, but left and right can be applied to any project. Every time that I want to float something to the left, so this one will be like unique, and this group here will be reusable. This is a good idea because that way you focus a lot on reusability. You have to focus a lot in reusability. So if we have here this is not growing the way it's supposed to grow. Let me see if I'm gonna say here to the postcard head. I wanna see why these guys, like the image is, it's getting below the other. My guess is that it's getting below. Let me see something. So I'm gonna say postcard body. Background. Anything. Let's say cadet blue. Just to make it more exquisite. It's not even showing. It's because it has to have overflow hidden because they have floating left and right. That this element has stuff floating on the left and on the right as an immediate child. That's why it has to have the overflow. Overflow hidden. Same problem here, the overflow. Let's see now. Oh my god. This is a real mess now. The postcard head has the overflow. Who has the overflow? It was the postcard, and it's not the postcard. I applied the postcard to the postcard the overflow, but it's not anymore to the postcard because the immediate childs are floating all these two, so it's here. The immediate child should be to postcard head. So the overflow is to postcard head. Postcard head. Overflow hidden, and I can remove this one. Oh, that's different. Thank God. So let's remove green and pink. Looking better without the background colors that were really annoying but really useful at the same time. I'm just gonna put this smaller so that we can see it all in the same screen. There. Okay. So any questions so far? I know it can be confusing, the float left and the float right. You just gotta remember about the overflow. The overflow is on the parent of whoever's floating. Okay, so the last thing would be, well, not the last thing, but another thing would be to the images. We can say all the images because we only have one image, so we don't have to put the dot because we can say all the images. We want them to have a height of 50 pixels, maybe. Yeah, that's not bad. And then to this button here at the bottom, we gotta say that we wanna center it. So postcard footer has to have text align center. And then the text never looks good when it's right next to the border. Like it has to have always some separation. And for that, we can apply it entirely. What I normally do is that I use the same size for padding. That's called a padding. Uh, in the breath code lesson, you can search about that on day 2 layouts when you're reading about it, doing layouts. You're gonna have this little tool that is super cool to visualize padding versus margin. It's supposed to be here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Yeah. So imagine you have a box like this postcard. Margin top, margin bottom, margin left, margin right, and then you have padding top. You see, it's like some space, but from within the edge of the container. Padding bottom, padding left, padding right, and then you have border width and border radius. So that's everything you can do to a container, to a box, to a div. See how many we have, how many synonyms we have. That makes it super complicated. And of course the background color, right? So what we're gonna be using then it's padding because we want the text. My bad, this one. We want the text to be a little bit separated from the edges. So let's do that. Let's say that we want. I'm gonna create a class p-1 just to have it like a padding one that is gonna be really a padding of 10 pixels, and I'm gonna apply it to the entire postcard. Let's see what happens to the entire postcard. So p1. Yeah, it's not bad, right? But still, you can see the edges here. They are almost touching each other, and you don't want that. So instead of applying it to it, I'm gonna apply it to each of those. So the head, P1. The body, not the body, the left, P1. The right, P1. And this one, P1 as well. It messed up with my layout. And this is where another thing you have to always remember, that's that the padding adds up to the total width of the boxes. Like if I have a box that it has a 50% width, like we have right now. We have a box that is 50% width. But also, we add a padding of 10 pixels to the same, and we did, look, we have a padding and a width of 50%. You're not really 50%, you're more than 50% because the padding will add up. You are 50% plus 20 because it's the padding on the left and the padding on the right. If you want to avoid that behavior that it's horrible and no one likes it, ever, you gotta always start all your documents by saying, everyone, please. I think it's border dash border block, maybe? Border block? No, I don't remember. Let me see. Remove, no, let me see, border block, because I remember it has something to do with that word, border block. No, it's border size. Border size. Border sizing property. Here it is. So you gotta say box sizing border box. I don't ask me why. I mean, I've read about it, but I forget, and I don't care. I don't wanna. I just remember all the time that padding is annoying. So I'm saying, everyone, stop having that behavior of having the padding adding up to your width. When you do that, it will stop adding up. So now the padding doesn't add up to the total width. The total width of the box will remain the same, and it will just make everything inside the div to get away from the edges of the div. Now we're almost there. I mean, anyone can tell me what's next? No one.
the input side?
The input size? Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's one of the things. You mean that it's not right up to right next? It should be all the way to the right side, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like fill up like that whole area should be the input box.
Yeah. And by seeing the reusable classes here, do we have any reusable class that we can reuse for that, or we have to create a new one?
Maybe right, like dot right.
If we say right, it will go all the way to the right, but it will remain the same width. So no, that one doesn't work. We could create a new one saying W100. W100 like this. And then we apply it to the inputs. Class width. W100. So 100% width, 100% width, 100% width. And we can do that because they are going to be 100% all the way to the parent. Like if the parent has a W50, well, that's the parent's problem. You know, I'm gonna try to match up until my parent. So if my parent has a width of 1500 pixels and you apply to me 100%, I will never be more than 1500 pixels because my parent was 1500 pixels. So those are all relative to the parent, those measurements. So yeah, that's one thing. And maybe to all the inputs, we can also say the font size, you know, because they look very small. And I think it's because of the font size. So we can say either like when do you add it to reusable and when do you add it to unique? Like this is all about the postcard and this is all about any project. But I know that I normally use W50 a lot and I use W100 a lot, but I don't use font size a lot. So I would apply font size. I would not have a font size for just that. I would apply it just to the inputs. So I would put here input, oh, maybe at the top, all the inputs, here, all the inputs, font size. And then I would make it, let's say, 18 pixels, just to see how they grow. Oh, I put 13, my bad. So they grow, yeah. They are more in relation to the text. The text is too big, by the way. I grabbed too much text. Let me just make it smaller so that it looks similar to the actual image. I need a lot less here. Maybe like that. Yeah, 2 lines and 4 lines. And maybe a couple of words less. There. There. What else do we have there? What else can we do? Yeah, the button at the bottom, we gotta apply. We can search how to change the color of a button and it will show right away. Look, how to change button color. And it will tell you the CSS property. CSS buttons. So these are the rules that they are using. Don't forget about the selector. This is just an example. We have our own selector. So they put a dot at the beginning, so that means it's a class for them. But we don't have to use the same thing. All we care is about what rules to apply. So they have background color. Okay, let's use that one. So let's say to all the buttons, because we only have one, so who cares? All the buttons need to have a background color that is gray. Woo! And then, to make it bigger, we can say, oh, by the way, you also should have a font size of 80 was we're using 18. Yeah, there. And then as you can see, well, it's very close. Yeah, it's very close. The font, maybe we have to change the font family, like the way it looks. That we can apply to the entire website. So font family. Let's try with one of the ones that come from with the website. Any monospace maybe. Let's see if this one works. It looks better. Doesn't look exactly the same font, but it looks better. The border for the inputs is only on the bottom. It's not on the left and on the right. So let's say border 0 for everyone, 0, and then border bottom. We overwrite that 0 that we just put with 1 pixel gray solid. Let me put this in several lines because it's growing too much. Okay, and then the input only has, and it's supposed to be gray, but that gray is too strong. It should be a lighter gray. For different colors, you can just Google color picker, and it will show you a color picker here that I always use. I can pick my color, and then I copy the hexadecimal color here. The same with the same hash and everything. You have to put it, so you can just put it like this. There. It's a little bit lighter. So that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, for the next class, we're going to be going over another project similar to this with a little bit more complexity. So I would suggest doing the exercises now. We're going to probably have more people because we created a group just now, and we have a lot of people that sign up, but they didn't know about this class. We should have said it more, that the class was starting today. We only said it once. That was our bad. But now, tomorrow, we're going to have another HTML session with questions and stuff. So if you want to take advantage of the course a lot, I would suggest practicing tomorrow before the class and reading. And we're going to be available in Slack 9 to 9. So please, I beg you to ask questions, because that's what the best value that we can provide. You're going to lose motivation pretty quick if you are stuck. So we want to unstuck you. So please ask questions. Please ask questions. I cannot say that more. That's the biggest deterrent. We have someone that joined just now. It was Marcelo. So Marcelo, you're typing. Someone muted you. Okay. So yeah, that's it. I mean, the couple of hours that we were going to be doing, they run out. So, and we also almost finished the project, so that's cool. See you guys tomorrow, okay?
All right, guys.